I'm wondering partly how I'm going to get through this one, because things are interesting at the moment. I'm having a very human day. I was told last night that on Monday, a very old friend of mine died. When I say a very old friend, she wasn't human. Didn't make her any less a friend. Didn't make her any less remarkable. Didn't make her any less loved. She was an elephant. And part of my life. Big part of my life. Possibly one of the best parts of my life. In the whole array of the good parts of anyone's life, there are moments that become lifelong memories. And though I haven't seen her for a very long time, I had been keeping track of where she was and more or less how she was doing. Until quite recently, when I actually managed to get a hold of the people who were taking care of her, and we started to have communication. And there was an arrangement that shortly I would be going to see her again. Then this happened. This interesting viral intermission in life that we all have. Before this, I did have the chance to go and see her, but I was talked out of it at the time. And I'm wondering why I allowed myself to be talked out of it, which is why I'm angry about it. Not angry at the person who talked me out of it, I'm angry at me for being talked out of it. Which is part of the process. It's something that word can get overused with, but grief is a process. And yes, I know I am grieving. I am grieving for more than just her. More than just Kirsty's part in my life. I am grieving about the attachment that brought. Part of it has to do with the idea that will never come again. Because let's face it, we all have parts deep inside that we think we're going to get to. We're going to see it again. We're going to be able to connect with that again in this reality. And more often than not, that's not the case. For many reasons. A few years ago, I did something that I regretted quite honestly. I looked up an old boyfriend and discovered that he'd been killed in a motorbike accident, and was so shocked and awed by that understanding of this vibrant person who was an absolute genius. He was an astrophysicist. And he was gone. Although understanding that the urge to actually look him up was more or less a case of me understanding that, yes, from this reality they're gone. From all the other ones, they're not. And I feel blessed that I am able to make ceremony for them, journey to them, and still speak with them in such a way that assuages the grief. I'm not entirely sure that it heals it right away. There are some things that loss doesn't get healed from. people would think that not having been in contact with someone or with a being for such a long time would mean that their parting is less than. When it comes to taking a piece of the jigsaw puzzle that makes up the picture of your life and moving it to the dead pile, to the not there anymore, it's painful. And I wonder sometimes how we manage, as we are thinking, feeling, emotive beings. What is the alchemy of change that happens that allows us to put that to rest? And it's something that we need to do, because if we didn't, life would be very hazardous. Because a lot of the time when we're in grief, we're not paying attention to what's going on otherwise. But also when we're in a state of being half asleep, we're not paying attention to what's going on, which is how we always think that we're going to get to that one. We'll do that someday. Not now, but later. And it's funny, my friend posted this morning a post that someone had written, or had posted themselves, about leaving things and how time passes so quickly and suddenly 60 years has gone by and a lot of the things that you meant to do, that you wanted to do, did not get done. And that's very apt for me at the moment. But the most joyful wonder of it is that I had this relationship with this elephant at all. And it reminds me of the fact that I got there through an act of defiance. I got there through an act of determination. And perhaps that's what I'm needing to be reminded about again. That I'm still able to be defiant and I'm still able to be determined. So I should go ahead and be that. Just because we don't see everybody every day doesn't mean that we don't actually have them in our lives. For me, I enjoy friendships where I don't speak to people for months, sometimes years at a time, and then we will talk and it's like we saw each other yesterday. There's a connection that's beyond the physical, there's a connection beyond the vocal on the phone, there's a connection that's made deep in the heart and soul of you, of us as beings. There are some connections that will withstand the harshest of emotional traumas, the harshest of physical traumas, and there are some that won't. I have friends who I know, no matter what happens, no matter when we speak or how we speak, they know I'm always going to be thinking of them. And that will make me on occasions pick up the phone and see what's going on. To which my friend said to her husband at one point, when he told her he'd answered the phone and he said, "It's Leslie on the phone," and she said, "Oh, she's such a witch, she knows," and he said, "Don't say things like that." She said, no, that's not an insult to her. Which is true, it's not an insult to me. I think it's an honour to be deemed such. But there you go, this is what happens. At that time there would have been something going on that, there's something that tickles the edge of my conscious awareness. And I'm sure that happens with you too. Some of you will realise it, some of you will think it's that interesting word I don't like, coincidence. I prefer synchronicity. And I love synchronicitous moments. And I had one with Kirsty a little while ago, just before her roommate, Rani, was euthanized through her illness and disease. I had a visitation from Kirsty. I was in a state of trance, that state just before sleep, when I saw her. She came in and came back again. And immediately I knew there was something going on. So I got in touch with the physical people, and that's when I found out what was going on with Rani. And I understood then that Kirsty was going to be on her own. That had come to me made me also realise how deeply connected I was with this being. I had known it before. I had been shown it before. Somehow it gets lost in the active knowing. It becomes the passive knowing. So let's stir up the passive knowings and make a little bit of a wonder at what we're passively knowing and what we're actively knowing. And maybe do something about it as much as we can in this climate that we have. I'm going to make ceremony and I'm going to journey. And I will go and talk to her and see if there's anything that she needs from me that I can actually help her with now. And I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.